So I am here with Marshal Cummings, who is the union president for USW 13214, and he's a third generation miner, mining trona for more than half of his life at this point in Green River, Wyoming. And when you're mining, you're encountering a lot of, I think, silica dust, trona dust, as he explained, just dust in general, which can lead to lung cancer, other awful conditions. And the problem right now is a lot of the agencies that are meant to both kind of assess and protect against this are being faced with cuts. So I'll let Marshall kind of talk about why he's here and what's going on.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. These cuts are affecting miners across the nation. Uh, Coal miners in the southeast and trona miners out west, copper, uh, all mines are affected by MSHA. Uh, these cuts, to me, are reckless and dangerous. Uh, what we did is give the keys to the kingdom to an individual that has unfair labor practices out against them, OSHA allegations against him. He's a known union buster. And when that happens, you know what the result is going to be. When the almighty dollars rule and everything, a favorable quarterly report means more to you than your health and safety of the people that you have working for you. People are going to get sick, people are going to die, and we've been seeing that more miners have been dying from black lung, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders, mesothelioma, black lung, silicosis is the new hot one. Uh, they're dying in their 20s now, 28 years old, and they have to take an oxygen tank with them to go to the park with their kids. And that's not what we signed up for. I had people that mentored me in mining that told me, uh, you come to work, you give your sweat, you give your dignity, you don't take your blood, your life, and your respiratory health to make soda ash or produce coal. To get the ore out of the mine, you don't sacrifice your health. And I believe that's true. I think that where we find ourselves is a place we've already came from. Like we've been through this before with mining. We know that if we don't have regulatory agencies, some bad actors are going to get people sick. Some bad actors are going to get people killed. And a union, you can bargain in your CBA's safety and health language that you would have to hold them to. These other non-represented mines, they're at the mercy of MSHA. And if there's nobody to answer the call because the field offices, which is where the inspectors would be stationed and come from, can show up, it might be too late, and we might have another Sunshine Mine disaster or something like that. Metal, non-metal is historically not been at the forefront of the people's minds. It's always been coal, and as coal is fading out and being phased out, metal, non-metal started getting more attention. Now, with the new administration, I'm all for making it easier for people to mine. It's a good living, it's hard work, but it takes care of your family, and that's what all of us want to do. Lifting the restrictions on coal, uh, or hard, it's getting so hard to permit. It's not so much like burning coal because the Obama administration set it forth the EPA, the limits that we have to hit. And I mean, we're burning coal cleaner than anywhere else in the world. I get that part. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying if we open more coal mines and have less MSHA or regulatory agencies overseeing them or NIOSH helping to identify what the dust is doing to these individuals, it's a recipe for disaster. And I think we'd be heading towards another mine disaster. And that's something that me, the USW, and my brothers and sisters won't stand for.
So yeah, so there's a bunch of different things that you just touched on, and I think first I want to start with, you know, given how, dangerous it is, the work that you're doing and how many adverse health effects there are, I think it's important for people to understand what you are sacrificing to do this. It's, soda ash, you were saying, is in pharmaceuticals, food, glass, cleaning supplies, Little Debbie's, what makes pancakes fluffy. This is a huge part of what keeps our like economy and lifestyle running. So I don't know if you want to speak to that as well, the fact that this is like a huge part of people's lives, that you're putting your own life on the line for their kind of enjoyment.
Yeah, if you drove behind a vehicle that has a windshield, there's a good chance that the soda ash came from our mines or our patch. are the ones that supplied you with that. If you ate pancakes today or some sort of bakery treat, there's a good chance that the soda ash came from our mine. Brush your teeth, wash your dishes, wash your clothes. It's in everything we use, and we mine it, we hoist it out, we manufacture it. So we're doing the whole process and shipping it out the gate to these people that make things with it. So yeah, it's something you don't really understand that people drop 600 feet below the surface of the earth to work hard and get this stuff out. So uh, I'm I have nothing bad to say about the pay or the benefits or the pension, thanks to the union and bargaining, but uh, safety and health, we put a lot on the line to make sure that we have those things in America.
So yeah, so in order to make sure that, people get what they want and need, you're putting yourself at risk of serious adverse health effects. And so NIOSH and MSHA are the two kind of entities that help monitor and protect against these adverse health effects. So I don't know if we want to kind of, for people who maybe don't understand, explain what NIOSH is and MSHA and kind of their roles in protecting minors.
Yeah, so MSHA started, it's the Mine Act of 1977, and the very first line of that act, it's beautifully written. It says the most precious resource to come out of a mine is the miner, and that's how everybody should look at this. Without us, nothing's coming out of that mine. So it doesn't matter if it's gold, diamonds, soda ash, trona, coal. We are the most important things to come out. And that's what Congress declared. It's not what I'm saying, even though it's how I feel. That's what the law said. So from that act, MSHA came about. What they do is they enforce the laws, they write the laws. So anything that's in a CFR book that gives you all the rules and regulations for mining has been written in blood. That's what anyone will tell you that's been in a mine. They don't make these rules just because they feel like, oh yeah, let's just make a new rule today. It's very difficult. It's a long process. I helped with it. It's exhausting, and when it's not going through and there's your things are going slow, uh, it feels not good. But when you get it passed, it's something that's great. So MSHA will write the rules. They come out and they inspect your mine every quarter. We have an underground mine, so they come out every quarter. They walk through your whole entire facility and see if they can find anything that might be a hazard to the people. If it's a hazard, you have a miners rep that's elected by the miners on site. What they'll do is give recommendations or suggestions. You'll talk it out with the company there, MSHA inspector there, and decide if it deserves a ticket. They can write you an MSHA citation. Those citations will vary in money, and they'll vary in severity. So if it's a really bad one, they'll put an order on you. The order means that now they control the mine and they'll decide how we're going to address it. The citations would just be a monetary, and they give you a deadline to repair it. So MSHA not having these field offices where they have base camps makes it so if I have a complaint and I make an allegation against the company or any miner in America, MSHA will get there as quick as they can. So if I make that complaint and my field office is closed in my town and the next closest one is Denver, it's like having a heart attack and calling the ambulance and hoping to God they get to my town in 6 hours before I croak. Your odds are not very good. So that's why the cut to MSHA and the field office is something that I can't stand for. And if I have to go to Washington, D.C. to tell everyone why, I will. NIOSH is different. They don't enforce anything. What they'll do is come out, do a study. The one that I requested is a health hazard evaluation. They'll send out doctors, they'll send out industrial hygienists, they'll look at the dust, see what your levels are, see what other hazards you might have on site, and then from their samples and what the doctors see in the people, they will tell you what the hazard is doing to you. So this dust could be carcinogen. It could be giving us silicosis. It could be giving us some new thing that we don't know about because many and oftentimes we don't know what's making these people sick. So when I see in my local newspaper all the miners, my friends, my brothers and sisters that I used to work with passing away shortly after retirement, that goes against a core principle of being in a union. One of the things you do in a union is make sure you can retire with dignity and grace. That's what we fight for. And if we're not going to make sure that we can live in dignity and grace afterward instead of having our grandkids push us in a wheelchair strapped to an oxygen tank, then I'm not doing my job. And MSHA would not be doing theirs in that case. So the cut to NIOSH affects me immediately because I had scheduled this HAG with some great people. I had the phone calls. They contacted the company. We were trying to get a date. The DOGE travel ban made it so they could never get out here. And then just yesterday morning, I got a email saying that Ann has been fired, the one that was heading it up. She said 92% of people in NIOSH have been fired. The HAG is done. There's no more. And that is unacceptable, irresponsible, and quite frankly, insulting and infuriating because that's just telling me that you don't care what I'm breathing. You don't care if I'm getting sick. You don't care if my dad is getting sick. You don't care if my son will get sick. Just get it out because we need some Twinkies. And that's not what it's about. I'm I'm trying to figure out what the next step is, right? I have some great leaders in the union that will try and figure it out and move on from there.
Well, I mean, like just continuing to speak out, given that there are other things that like people have pushed back on, and then the administration has, kind of reversed course. So continuing to speak out is the best bet, I think, at this point. But um, I think I read that like two-thirds of NIOSH workers are going to be um, cut or fired or whatever, terminology they use to fire these people. And tons of MSHA offices, field offices have been closed, their leases have been ended by DOGE. Um, has anyone like explained to you or explained to the public like why they're doing this? Like what is the justification for cutting these super essential kind of health and safety measures?
No, Harry Hageman, who's a representative for the state of Wyoming and Washington, D.C., was giving a town hall. So what we did was organize a bunch of people to show up at these town halls. And then I never instructed anybody to be impolite, rude, protest, even though that's your freedom. You can do that. It's what people fought and died for, right? And I just asked them to politely ask what we're doing about the field offices being cut, what we're doing about these safety and health and regulatory agencies that oversee mining being cut, because it's what drives our economy in Southwest Wyoming. It's the driver. So when they asked her, she was caught off guard, said she'd never heard of it before. She came to my town in the next meeting, and that next meeting, she uh, she was more prepared for the question. I'll say that. She said that she looked into it and it was slated to be cut under the Biden administration. Earlier in her speech, she told us to check out the DOGE website because that's where you see where all the cuts are coming from and how much money that they're going to save. And that's where I got the information. So I looked on the DOGE website. Me and some friends in Southwest Wyoming uh, discovered that the lifeblood to our safety and health is being removed on DOGE's website, and they're flying it around like they're proud of it, and it's a banner, and that's disgusting. And I don't know who it is, but if yeah, I mean it's hard for me. If it's a some nerd, and I'm a nerd, so it's not an offensive term, but if some nerd looks and sees, oh, we can cut $60,000 by cutting this field office, and it's what's keeping my limbs attached, my lungs healthy, and keeping food on my table because I can't work if I'm hurt, I can't work if I'm dead, and keeping my brother and sister safe, then I have every right to be able to see and confront that person face to face and ask them why they're doing it. But there's no avenue for that. There's no avenue to contest it. And when I bring it up in a town hall meeting, it gets dodged. So thank you for contacting me and giving me an avenue to maybe have some more people hear it. And the work you're doing hopefully will help keep people safe.
I hope so, and you too, obviously. I do want to ask, if there are people who maybe, are still kind of feeling like, okay, I'm on board with more government efficiency and, I want to see my tax dollars better utilized and kind of maybe, I don't even know if the right word is don't understand, but I think I'm just curious what you say to the people who are still kind of pro. DOGE? How do you talk to those people? I don't know if in your life or on social media or
Uh, so, I mean, I have no problem with being efficient. I I run a union, so we have to be efficient with our money. With the company, I say all the time, if you Google any of the interviews I've ever given, I always talk about how I want to be the safest, most productive, most efficient mine in the world. And government efficiency is something I can get aboard with, and I'm sure there has been lots of corruption because everything's been corrupted. I it just is man, right? It's original sin. Everybody does it, and if you're unchecked, like no MSHA, you're gonna do it. You're gonna let it slide, and it's a slippery slope. So if we're cutting some weird thing like iguanas walking on treadmills or whatever they said they found, then everyone's on board with that. Nobody wants to be blowing taxpayer dollars on that when we have veterans on the street that don't have food, that don't have a home, mental ill, like people walking around that just have any sort of mental illness. And it breaks my heart. I'm at a convention in Vegas right now and I'm out here walking around. And my wife's gonna ask where all my money went. And it didn't go in the slot machines or the table games. I'm feeling bad for these people that don't have any avenues, and you can see that they're mentally ill. And if we are spending money in silly places, then they need to be cut. But my safety and health is not silly, and it's something that I take extremely seriously. And I've invested a good portion of my life trying to fight for the safety and health of our workers. We've been down this path before again and again, and now we're going backwards. That's something that unions don't do. Uh, all the natural disaster or all the mining disasters that we faced so many different times, I feel like in a movie, right? Like Mattawan or something like that. These old timey movies where you hear about the coal miners and they stand up and then they get killed. Joe Hill, the Ludlow massacre in Colorado, my neighboring state. It's really close to home. People were fighting for working conditions, and the government unleashed the National Guard on them, and it turned into this giant battle. And what they did when they were on strike, they got kicked out of the company housing, so they dug holes underneath their tent city. That's where they stored their meat and their food so it wouldn't spoil. When the fighting broke out, they sent their women and children down there. And the company and the National Guard set these tents on fire and burned some of these kids alive. Like, that's how much it meant to them. So if it means having some people pissed off at me because they think MSHA should be cut, I have no problem with that. That's why we teach labor history in the union and the labor movement, is because people have fought and died for this before. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that if my son chooses to be a miner, that he'll be safe and has more safety measures and more opportunity to retire with dignity and grace than I did.
and what would you say to other working Americans who maybe are facing similar struggles in their respective industry with cuts or pushback on better working conditions? Is there anything you would say to them to encourage them or any message you'd want to share?
Yeah, we gotta practice solidarity. The union makes you strong, right? That's how the song ends. We got to get together and we got to show everyone that we're not for it. We're not about it. We're not going to go back in time. We're going to go forward. But more than ever, we have to unite. And this divisiveness that somebody teaches, if anybody's ever been on a team, right, you know that you can't be at each other's throats the whole time. You have to find common ground and move forward. If you let people div- divide you over who's going to what bathroom or stuff like that that affects very little people. Like I feel for those people, or who can do this in what sport, male, female, transgender, all that stuff. Then no one's saying that they shouldn't compete, and we shouldn't be fighting about that. They have every opportunity to compete as much as they want. Maybe the answer is somewhere in the middle where we make another division for transgender so that it's more fair across the board. Going towards a solution and approaching these things with the problem solver's approach is how you get things done. Sitting there fighting means you're falling for the trap. And while they're telling you, oh, let's do this over here, let's do over this over here, they will dump the stock market, buy all the stock, and juice it back up. So you lose, they win. I hate to sound like that and be that way, but it is class warfare. And what they did to get us to this point was very clever. They put us at each other's throats all the time about stuff that should matter. Everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. It doesn't matter what you identify as, doesn't matter what color you are. I look like a giant white guy and I'm half Mexican. So I'm not actually white. I grew up by a bunch of Latinos, so I am more, I grew up more of the culture of a Hispanic. So I really didn't see color the whole time. You know, I never got why people would. We defeated this a long time ago. Like we've already figured it out. Don't fall backwards. Don't go back into what Dr. Martin Luther King did. I mean, he lost his life for that reason. And that's what we got to remember is people fought and died for this stuff. We're not going to reissue it. And don't fall for it. Just tell them I treat my brother like my brother. I treat my sister like my sister, my sibling like my sibling. It's just how it's going to be. But don't invest all the time and energy on that. Let's get together, get to Washington, D.C., because the majority of America, we're workers. That's what keeps America moving. American manufacturing. Bring it back, right? The tariffs, that's what we're supposed to do. And then the tariffs are used as a yo yo to juice the market, whatever you want to say, whatever conspiracy theory you have. We want the markets back here too. And we want a fair trade policy. We want everyone to have to come up to our level. So if China wants to have sweatshops and their minds over there are when this guy dies, we fill him in, then yeah, tariff them, bring it up so expensive that they have to get to our same policies with safety, our same treatment with labor. They don't impose their will on everybody, right? It's a democracy and everybody has a say. Once they get to that level, then lift the tariffs. That's what I would do. If it's really about the people and it's really about mankind, we're all humans. So let's fix that. And like I said, we got to get together. We got to get to Washington. And I can't speak for the entirety of the USW. So this is a just Marshall comment. Uh, if it takes a general strike for a little while, then it takes a general strike for a little while. But I'm there. I'm ready to do it. And we got to get a lot more people to that level.
You're totally speaking my language. It's the division is a distraction. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I also don't want to end on a bad note, but I do want to just ask this question. If these cuts aren't reversed and we spend the next 4 years without proper funding for these two entities, what happens?
You, it's simple math. More mines with less MSHA inspectors equals more mine disasters. That's just how it's going to be. You're going to see workplace injuries go up. You're going to see workplace fatalities go up, and it's not just this MSHA stuff. I mean, the the new head of OSHA, the most important uh, surface worker regulatory agency, he was the safety and health guy when a worker died at an Amazon plant because of heat. And that's who we're going to put in charge of it, of everybody's safety and health. I mean, the guy should never be able to get a job again. And from what I've looked up, the paperwork shows that they knew it was hot in there and they still had him working. So heat exposure killed him. So let's make him the most important regulatory guy in the land. The general counsel for the National Labor Relations Board, that person is a union busing attorney. So whoever's in charge of labor, let's make it super favorable to the company so that the rich get way, way, way richer and the poor just die. We don't even have to worry about welfare because they're not going to make it to their 40s. And that's not what America is. That's not what the American dream is.
Thank you so much. This was, I think, for the people who watch this, will be a very enlightening conversation, scary and motivating at the same time. I think you touched on both of those emotions for me. But if there's anything else you want to share, otherwise we can close out because this was awesome.
No, I think I got out most of what I mean for a 1 day preparedness. I think it worked out pretty good. So I'll keep in touch with you and hopefully this boosts it. And thanks for helping get the word out.